All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're jumping into a video that I saw come across my YouTube feed, and I said, you know what? Let's watch this in real time. Let's turn on the camera. Let's react to this. It's titled "The Boston Celtics Added Exactly What the NBA Feared," and I'm gonna watch this video. We got a few minutes here, and then I'm gonna react to it and kind of give my take on should the NBA genuinely fear the Boston Celtics now. Now they just went to the NBA Finals. And then they add Malcolm Brogdon. Danilo Gallinari obviously still needs to be made official after he's bought out. But they add those pieces. Are they a team that, is going to be this sort of near future, always contending type team? I mean, as a Celtics fan, I'm biased to saying that's the case. But, I think that the thing that jumped out to me on this is that, that word feared. Should every NBA team look at the Celtics and go, game in and game out, I guess, go like, oh my god, I don't think that we can beat that team. So we're gonna jump in to this video, see what we got here. It's coming from Hoops Digest, so definitely go check out the original video if you feel like checking that out. But let's jump right into it.
You guys, I think it is 100% safe for me to say at this point that everything we've encountered thus far throughout the 2022 NBA free agency has been very entertaining, to say the very least. But from everything we've encountered throughout this offseason, from the NBA draft to trade requests and even free agency itself that is well underway, not one team has stuck out to me more, even with such minimal moves that they've actually made so far this offseason, than what the Boston Celtics have already done. Because honestly, if you've been living under a rock since the offseason actually began, or even if you've been keeping up with all of the breaking news that has been flying around over the last couple of days, I personally feel like there is not only so much more to dissect about what these moves mean for the future of the Celtics, but also what they could still do before the 2023 season actually begins.
Okay, I like that. So he's talking about the fact that, the two moves that I mentioned, Brogdon and Gallinari, right? Probably the two biggest things that we can note right now. But is there even more that, is coming down the pipe here for the Celtics?
One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. And for those of you that do, believe me, I cannot thank you guys enough, because according to my numbers, over 95% of you guys coming back to actually watch the content haven't even subscribed yet. So again, thank you. But anyway, let's get back into the Boston Celtics, who, even though have only made two relevant moves in this offseason thus far, are not just sitting right now as arguably having one of the best off seasons out of any team across the league, but also seem to monumentally improve in ways that honestly many people across the league probably didn't think were possible. And just in case any of you have no idea what I'm talking about, I will briefly bring everyone up to speed with the moves I'm discussing, as the C's pulled.
What is that shirt, JT?
Off what I would say 95% of the NBA world considered a fleece in their trade for Malcolm Brogdon from the Indiana Pacers, while also acquiring Danilo Gallinari in free agency on a 2-year deal that filled up their mid-level exception. And to get back to the Malcolm Brogdon trade, and I am 100% serious when I say this, if anyone would have even suggested the layout of this trade on social media before it actually happened, you would very likely be called insane for even thinking that it's a possibility.
It's totally the type of deal it's like Malcolm Brogdon for Daniel Tice, Aaron Nesmith, Nick Stauskas, Malik Fitz, and a first-round pick. Who says no? And then all the replies on Twitter are going to be the Pacers. Well, Pacers said yes.
Which is why so many people think that it is a fleece. And after the first day of free agency passed by, with the Celtics just kind of sitting in the background and not really doing anything, the idea of getting Gallinari at just $6 million a year, while essentially only giving up a first-round pick to acquire Malcolm Brogdon, and replacing Aaron Nesmith and Daniel Tice with these two in what now can be considered the deepest rotation in the NBA today.
Let's look at that. That's nuts. I mean, if that's your starting five, who knows if it is? They might still want to start Al Horford or Robert Williams at the same time, but that is 1 through 10. And you know who everyone keeps forgetting? Right here, this guy. Everyone keeps forgetting Derek White, too. everyone's saying, oh my God, the Celtics are so good 1 through 7, you know, with the addition of Brogdon and Gallinari. How about Derek White, who stepped up in the playoffs?
If it wasn't already prior, is something that I think all Celtics fans were dreaming to accomplish this offseason. But the biggest question that everyone's been asking is, are these two necessarily going to be the perfect fit into what the Boston Celtics are trying to improve on? Well, let's try to dive into that. And starting with Gallinari, it's no surprise, and there's very clear reasons why so many different contenders across the league were trying to push to sign this man once he hit free agency. And for a guy like him who is coming off of a season in Atlanta, putting up around 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, and also shooting over...
What are you getting? I mean, I could be wrong here, but did he get in the league in like 2008 or something like that, right? He's older and he's still putting up these stats where obviously that's not a crazy number breakdown, but like 12, 5, and 1.5 is perfect off the bench. And the great thing about him is that he still can go off at any given moment. I mean, he can have a 25-point game. And another great thing is that he's going to come in assuming to come off the bench. There's not going to be any sort of drama around that, which is still something I'm worried about with Malcolm Brogdon coming in and being like, oh, like I want to start. I've always started. I've started every game I've played in since 2018, but now I'm going to come off the bench. We're going to see how that plays out. But Gallinari, I think he knows his role immediately.
Over 38% from 3 on around 5 attempts per game, it seems very easy to predict that Gallinari's offensive ability and shot making are going to fit seamlessly into what Boston's trying to do. However, on defense, it's not necessarily the same story. Now, I'm not trying to say that Gallinari's an awful defender. I'm just going to
I think he is. I'm going to say that. I don't think he's a good defender whatsoever.
Say that he's not really considered a two-way player. And with this being the biggest cause for concern of Celtics fans, I will say that I am also a huge believer in the skill set of a team having a huge impact on a possible player coming in. Like in this situation, we have Gallinari going from one of the worst defensive teams in the league last season to one of the best defenses that we've seen in the league in quite a while. And if you think that that's not going to have an impact on how Gallinari plays on defense, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. And also in terms of your front court defense, I know it's very clear to everyone that you're going to be returning Al Horford and Robert Williams this season, but there's also been rumors flying around with sending out Tice that the Celtics are
I thought, ready for this? When they did this.
But there's also been rumors flying around.
They flash up Klay Thompson. I was like, huh? Rumors about Klay Thompson? Do I live under a rock?
With sending out Tice that the Celtics are pursuing another defensive-minded frontcourt player, and some of the biggest names I've seen in these discussions include players like Hassan Whiteside, Thomas Bryant, or even DeMarcus Cousins. It's just crazy to me to think that the Boston Celtics still have the ability to add another player like this, and I know a lot of you have had your eyes on Thomas Bryant over the last week, so if they're
I believe Bryant signed since this video probably came out. He signed with the Lakers.
Actually able to add another player to the rotation like this, the defensive worries about a front court containing Gallinari are just going to be trimmed even slimmer. But now to transition into their biggest and most crucial acquisition in Malcolm Brogdon, we saw many different people across the NBA world immediately question how it was going to work with both Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart in the same rotation together. And if you're someone who thinks that this combination is going to somewhat make Marcus Smart feel out of place going forward in the next season, I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, but I personally disagree. Because Malcolm Brogdon is someone that I think both the Celtics front office and Celtics fans themselves have been dying to acquire for a very long time. And this was due to ultimately what was one of the biggest reasons for the downfall of the Celtics last season, which many of you could probably guess before I even mention it, but of course, it was turnovers. And with Brogdon finally being added into this rotation, it's going to do the team wonders simply in the sense that they finally have a clear-cut playmaker. And I'm not trying to say that Brogdon is one of the under-the-cover best playmakers in the NBA, but having someone of his caliber to take the pressure off of guys like Tatum, Brown, and Marcus Smart is going to be huge in certain situations.
That's the thing, because Marcus Smart, now it depends on how you classify what a playmaker is, right? Because Marcus Smart can make plays. I said in a recent video, he's a really good playmaker, but he doesn't follow the playmaker mentality. You know what I mean? So Marcus Smart actually, you know what, is a playmaker, but he'll take it upon himself at times to do things that he shouldn't do, meaning that, yeah, he can be a playmaker, but is he a constant playmaker? Is that his role? I don't know about that. That's a tough one. Whereas Malcolm Brogdon kind of fits like that playmaker box in an NBA player. He'll score when he needs to, but he's looking to make plays, whether, you know, it's hitting up Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or lobbing it to Rob. You know what I mean? It's more of a playmaker style than being a playmaker, if that makes any sense.
And for someone like this, who's coming off a season putting up averages of 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists per game, while it was only in a span of 36 games, it's clear that Brogdon is going to be able to help in many other different areas of the offense and defense as well. Because while it's very clear through the numbers that he can score, people also forget that he is one of the last 3 players in the NBA to
have a 50-40-90
have a 50-40-90 season. But in my opinion, what the craziest thing is that I've heard since this Brogdon acquisition occurred is that reportedly the mindset right now is that Brogdon is set to be the 6th man for the Celtics rotation in the 2023
I don't buy
season.
that at all.
Now
I
at
don't think
first,
that's
this
gonna work.
might have seemed like a surprise, but the more you think about it, the more sense it makes. Because with all of the success they saw running this last season, you can see why they want to continue to throw out a starting 5.
I know I'm chopping this up and pausing all over the place, but I made a video on it. I don't think Malcolm Brogdon, I think right now it's easy to say I'm going to be the 6th man, but then I think once that starts happening, he's going to realize at some point, he goes, man, I'm a starter. I'm good enough. I should be on this team. The one caveat to it is the injuries. Does he realize he may have a longer career if he, you know, ultimately is a 6th man because he's not playing as many minutes? But I truly think that by the year's end, Malcolm Brogdon and Marcus Smart are somehow both going to be in the starting lineup. I believe that.
That includes both Al Horford and Robert Williams in the front court. And along with this, I mean, just the idea in itself of having a player like Malcolm Brogdon being your first option off of the bench, while it's also very clear he's going to get starter caliber minutes in the process, is something that is going to terrify opponents going into that matchup. Because with a bench like this, it's going to be pretty difficult for any other team in the league to top the depth that Boston currently has. And again, like we already mentioned, it's scary to think that the Celtics still have room to work with in this offseason. All in all, though, even if they were to stop right here and now with their 2022 offseason, I think it's safe to say that they get an A+. But of course, with everything we've already mentioned, I am extremely curious to hear what you guys have to think about this. So please let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to make the biggest difference from the acquisitions that Boston's made thus far? And also, what moves, if any, do the Celtics still need to make before the offseason concludes? But again, you guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. We still have a ton to discuss from this offseason. We have Summer League right around the corner. We have trades that
Alright, so I will say, man, he's right here in the video. I wish I knew the guy's name. I know the channel is Hoop Digest, but I mean, you're spot on in the sense of, okay, when you think about it, this Celtics team is already way better, like way better, by getting 2 guys, right? The fact that they may be adding another player is mind-blowing, and the fact that, you know, they went and got a guard, they got their forward in Danilo, and now they might go get a big man. All of a sudden, what does your bench turn into? Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Danilo Gallinari, you know, ex-big man, say it's DeMarcus Cousins or Hassan Whiteside, something like that, right? And then Peyton Pritchard, Grant Williams, those guys kind of at the end of the rotation. That is absolutely absurd to me. That is a deep team, whereas, you know, even just, I don't know, how many months removed are we? A month, 2 months removed here from the NBA Finals, or the playoffs, I should say, if we're going 2 months. Like, the Celtics bench was nothing. The Celtics bench womp-womped it. Like, they were terrible in the playoffs, terrible in the finals, I should say specifically, and then you go and add Danilo Gallinari, who's 12 points per game on your bench, right? Then you go and add Malcolm Brogdon, 19 points per game on your bench. That's over 30 points coming off the bench from those 2 guys alone, given their last year's numbers. I know that that's not exactly how it works, but man, that's a good video, because when you think about it, it's like the NBA should fear this Celtics team. 1,000,000%. They should fear this Celtics team because they have an amazing starting 5. You know, even if you love or hate Marcus Smart, he's one of the best defenders in the league. A la winning defensive player in the year. So defensive player of the year. They have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, savvy vet, Robert Williams, one of the most explosive big men now in the league. And then you go Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Danilo Gallinari, ex-big man. You know, oh my God, this is going to be such a fun team to watch, and I do think that this is probably the most hyped up team that we've had And I say we like I'm on the team, but it's a hyped up team that we've had in quite some time, maybe dating back to when, you know, Kyrie and Gordon Hayward were gonna play, and Hayward broke his leg and broke his ankle in the first game. But yeah, very, very excited for this. My answer is yes, the Celtics should be feared by every NBA team. They'll be back in or around that NBA Finals for a few years to come here, and I'm very, very much here for it. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. As always, let me know what you're thinking. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I want to know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.